Hello everybody and welcome to episode 6, the season 1 finale of Conservatoire Conversations. Today we are very kindly joined by Chris Hoyle. Thanks for coming today, Chris.
No problem, very happy.
Glad to have you.
So today I think I would start with a biography opening because some people may not know much about your career, they might just know you as Chris Hoyle, head of strings. So there's two things that I want to ask you about, and the first one is, you wrote that you have played in the Sahara Desert to the King of Morocco.
Yes, that was one of life's surreal experiences. We were in the desert. There were knights on white horses. The event was lit by torches with real flames. It was where I think Life of Brian was filmed. It was proper desert stuff.
Okay.
And what was so surreal was, to be honest, 90% of us had really bad stomach issues there. And I'm talking both ends. And you really got to know your colleagues. The viola section was down from 10 to 3.
Oh my
And
God.
in the winds, they were just passing instruments around to see who was fit enough to blow into them. Anyway, I can't describe in too much detail the graphic situation. I think it's fair to say we were in a mess. We made it work.
I was just wondering, was the acoustic dry?
Yeah, there was no ceiling,
Yeah.
so the acoustic maybe had to be enhanced. I don't know.
I was also wondering, did you play any notes out of Dune?
Oh, nice.
Anyway, so the other one was, of course, you studied with Paul Tortelier,
Yes.
the cellist. So we spoke to Levon Chilingirian the other day, and a big part of that was about...
Sorry, keep going.
That's okay.
I'll just turn my phone off.
A big part of that was about the old style of playing and teaching.
Yeah.
Obviously, Paul Tortelier is the archetype of that, I think. So what was he like as a teacher?
Yeah, there are in string playing schools of thought, schools and traditions. They're less talked about these days, and is undeniably a French school. He was influenced by his own teachers, not least Feuillard, whose daily exercises we know and love.
Yes.
And he learned with Gerhard Ecking and worked with Casals, people like that. And he was a crazy guy. Even in his 70s, because I had lessons in his house. I used to live in the old town of Nice, and I get the number 14 bus to his house, and quite often him and his wife Maud would start by making us some vegetable and fruit smoothies, because we had no money, and so they said, that would do you good. But even in his 70s, he was still practicing his scales, for 1 or 2 hours a day, and working with a metronome. And but his language was very colourful and very poetic. He liked telling stories, even though he had his particular technical ideas as well. He was some of them, I wouldn't recommend. They were personal to him. Some crazy ideas about having concave fingers on both hands, and so, I submitted to those ideas for a period, but anyway, just a very inspiring guy.
Yeah,
that's great. So we just thought, considering you're the head of strings here, it would be informative and helpful to maybe some of the viewers that were considering going into Conservatoire or maybe applying for an undergrad or a master's. We were wondering, what is it exactly that you look for in a Conservatoire audition?
Do you know the expression, a diamond in the rough? It means there's something precious in there, but it needs some work. So I'd say that's what we're after. We're not looking for the perfect product. We're just trying to look into the future and see what potential there is. There's some glaring things which would steer us away from a candidate. For example, if they sit on a note out of tune, in unison with a piano note which is in tune, and they don't adjust that, then that would sound alarm bells. But you could argue it's hard to teach temperament and musicality. You could argue that. But we're looking for potential, and we can see that.
Yeah, so I remember when I was applying, I found it difficult to know what exactly to play, because some of them it's like, you play you just like hiding in D or something, then a piece of your own choice. So I was wondering, what is it that you should play?
I would say play something that's totally within your limit. Don't think that playing a difficult piece will get you further, because I see so often in auditions and end of year recitals, people think, oh, if I play the Sibelius Violin Concerto or if I play the Kodály Solo Sonata, they'll give me extra marks, and all these pieces do. It's just proves what you actually can't do. So just play something that's well within your capabilities, I would say.
Yeah, that's not very good news for me. I'm playing the Brahms concerto.
Oh yeah, but you can do it.
We'll see. We'll see. Don't speak too soon. Yeah. So just the next topic we were thinking of speaking of is mental practice. Over our years here, you've mentioned it a lot, and I found it useful. I think it would just be worth reiterating for the viewers. Why is it useful, and what actually does it involve when you're doing it? I mean, it can be very vague, just thinking about it, or is it, what really is it?
It can mean different things, and to be honest, I could talk about it for an hour. It's used widely in sport, and it's called the most accelerated way of learning something. You can imagine a high jumper. What in the Olympics, what they don't do is spend all day running up at bars and jumping over them. Not at all. They must rehearse that move 1,000 times in their mind before they actually do it. So I think with cello playing, you can practice even on an air cello, just going through the actions, going through the movements of the piece that you're playing. You can memorize music before you even start learning it, and that was a Tortelier thing. On occasions you would get a student to learn, let's say, Fauré's Elegy or Haydn's C from memory before they took it to the cello. And how amazing, how liberating would that be, that before you take your hands to a piece you already know it from memory. That would just be amazing.
Yeah, true.
But I mean, there's so many other things. Do I need a cello and a bow in my hand in order to interpret a piece? Not really, because to interpret it, you're thinking about the characters and the colours. Do I need a cello and a bow in my hand in order to play the right rhythms, or in order to play the right notes? Not really. So there's so much that can be done away from the instrument. And if there's such a thing as instrumental related injuries, this is a good way of looking after your forearms and your joints by using your time with the instrument in the most efficient way.
Do you think you could ever improve something actually technical through mental practice? So say if you've have not very smooth bow changes or something, is there something that can add on to your actual technical practice that can help it as well as if you're doing both mental and normal?
Yes and no. I mean, ultimately, as you're saying, you need to have the thing in your hand. But sometimes having a picture, like some people would say, you're dealing in really thick paint and you've got to paint it on like this, and that your right hand fingers are like the bristles of the paintbrush. You pull them that way and you pull them that way. And by having that picture in your mind, maybe that will positively influence the actual action. So again, just picturing the type of moves and rehearsing them with the instrument and without the instrument.
So, keeping on topic of practice, then, how would you structure a 1 hour practice session?
Right. Again, that's a really big subject. One thing, just in terms of being physically fit, I would practice for 25 minutes, have a 10-minute break, and then practice for 20 minutes. My personal belief is that by doing more shorter blocks rather than fewer longer blocks, you'll achieve more by just keeping your brain refreshed. They say, the so-called experts, that humans can concentrate for about 20 minutes. That's our ultimate concentration span, which means that after 20 minutes, perhaps things start to decrescendo in terms of our attention span. But yeah, just say the question again.
It's just how would you structure 1 hour? But you've kind of answered it there, I think. But then, what would you be doing in the gap, in the break? I mean, there's no point, because I've heard things about, you know, people will say, oh, they have a break in their practice session, but it's not always related to the music, really, which is not necessarily a good idea. I mean, what would you recommend?
That you go 2 laps of the top corridor here at the RNCM. you see if you can beat your personal best, and just, you know, standing up, changing your pulse rate, clearing your head, and then coming back with renewed energy. But or it could be there's a difficult rhythm or something, so it could be the tippet excerpt which we've just set for the professional audition, just working that out for a bit away from the cello, just doing something different. Read a book, don't know.
Yeah, go on the phone.
Go on the phone, actually. Yeah.
That's bad advice.
That's another subject. What do you think about the role of having the phone in the practice room?
I'm
for the metronome.
I'm personally an advocate, actually. If we're going to get onto that topic, I think there's a lot. Apps have done me very well.
Oh, I see.
Because you have obviously Instagram doesn't really help.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But yeah, I like to use drones and things.
The drone in the gnome.
And metronome. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be a bit of a distraction. But yeah, so more for questions for students. I was just wondering, we asked Levon this question, he gave a good idea. What do you think makes a good student?
Someone who's curious, someone who knows how to balance work and play. So you play hard, but you work hard. So, you know, there's that thing... what's it called? Delayed gratification, something like that, where someone says it's 6 o'clock in the evening, let's go out into town for the night, and you say, actually, if it's all right, I'll join you at 7:30. I've just got some stuff I need to do, so you know when to work and when to play.
I only laughed then because Levon also said his initial response was curiosity as well. I suppose it's a very important part, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I really like it, for example, when there's a violin masterclass and I see double basses there. On one occasion, there was actually more bassists than there were violinists. But yeah, and you see people at masterclasses these days with little notebooks making notes of what the person's saying. And then...
if they potentially tackle the piece in the future or related things to their own music.
Yeah. I mean, just speaking as a cellist, I've learned a lot by going to the violin masterclasses, because in my role I've got to keep an eye on everything that's going on. So, you know, it doesn't have to be an absolute instrument specific class for you to benefit from it. But curiosity and broad-mindedness and knowing when to play and when to work.
This is sort of a similar question to that, actually, but if in your experience looking at students who have progressed and done very well compared to those who maybe haven't, what is it that they've done differently?
I think tenacity is the thing. They've read feedback, taken it on board. They've had knocks. They've been down about it, but then they've been philosophical. They've come up with a new plan, kept going, and it's really... In fact, one of the nicest things about my job is when I see the graph of a student, their improvement going up bit by bit, and they have knocks, and then we keep going. So, yeah, you know, speaking from my own personal life, you know, I had a range of successes and setbacks, and I think that's probably true of most people. You've just got to deal with those setbacks.
Yeah, that's true. I think the next question, is advice on finding the right teacher. I mean, it can be a very interesting topic. How do you really know what's right for you and what you need? You sort of need a teacher to tell you that, but you also sort of need to get the right teacher to tell you the right things. I mean, do you have any advice on?
I suppose one of the main things is how you click with that person as a person, rather than just the instructions that they're giving you. And teachers teach in many different ways. Some are quite prescriptive, you know, do that with this finger, do that with this wrist, and do that fingering. And others get results just by being persuasive as people. They're like infectious with their personality, and you maybe they play just like copying their playing style. So I think sometimes you just know. I've actually, I mean, to be honest, in my own experience, I've had a mixture. Some teachers are very prescriptive and quite controlling. Do this and do that. You know, every movement has been analysed, and that's been good for me. But equally, I had another teacher, that was Alexander Bailey back in the day, and once we had a lesson where he said no words were to be spoken. So he played and I copied, and then he played and I copied, and he played and I copied. And it was actually a really, really good lesson. And you know, so different approaches.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I want to experience that myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So also another thing we wanted to talk to you about, because I think you're the only person who's, who's had such a long orchestral career. So we haven't really asked many questions about the orchestra. I was just wondering, do you have any advice on orchestral auditions and trials? I'm assuming you we know that you played in BBC Phil. I'm not sure about any other jobs you've got.
Yeah. Well, I did quite a few trials with different orchestras around the country. So advice about them. I mean, this is dating me. I didn't actually anticipate going into an orchestra, and I didn't train along those lines. And my first couple of trials, I actually thought it was cheating if you practiced in advance, because I thought orchestral playing was more about sight reading than it is, and so I thought it would be wrong if I studied the parts in advance. So I turned up having never opened them at all, and made some pretty classic mistakes along the way.
Nice.
I remember sitting on the front desk of the Liverpool Phil playing Beethoven 7, and I said to the guy, it was Tim Walden, I said, this is actually quite a decent piece, this. I said, have you ever played it before? He said, yeah, loads. I said, I've never even heard it. It's great, isn't it? You know. But yeah. So what was the question about advice?
Advice on orchestral auditions and then trials.
Yeah, I mean, people say orchestral playing is the greatest discipline, and it is, because you've got a lot of notes coming at you, and you've got to do them in a part of the bow which might not suit you, with an interpretation which might not suit you, with someone sitting next to you who might annoy you, and as we've talked about in another question, another thing is the person's skills. Do you fit in with the people around you? Do they annoy you, or do you annoy them? And life in orchestra means you're going to spend long coach journeys with these people. You're going to do tours, so you're going to be sitting with them on the coach at 8 o'clock in the morning or midnight. And do they want someone who's just going to talk about themselves, or someone who smells? Frankly, that's something that's come up. So, you know, it's a mixture of different qualities that makes a good orchestral player.
I'll imagine that feedback after your trial.
Yeah.
You smell too bad.
It has happened actually. For some people it can be BO, I mean, let's be honest, but some people put so much aftershave or perfume on, it's like you're sneezing and your eyes are watering, and you go home smelling like a flower. You know?
Yeah. It's incredible self-awareness is what I'm starting, is the key to passing a trial.
Yeah.
You need to be very aware of everything, you're playing, everything, what you're saying, what you smell like.
Definitely.
Yeah, what food you've brought, stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't stink out the kitchen with your gel phrase.
Yeah.
Although it's not hated really. That's okay.
No, I have made some horrendous mistakes in my early years.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got there.
You got there, yeah.
You might want to edit this out, but I did one audition. The one I did for the BBC Phil, actually, I did the audition And in those days there was no text or emails, and the letter came 2 days later. It said you can have the job on the spot, and they said you can have a trial for the co-principal. And I thought, oh, that's all right, isn't it? So I was quite flattered with that. But again, I did that trial for co-principal. I never practiced anything, and made all the mistakes, and it probably came as no surprise why I didn't get it. But anyway,
I want to leave that in.
Yeah. That does tie in nicely to this quick question. Is obviously with the BBC Phil, they have such a quick turnaround. Most British orchestras have such a quick turnaround of repertoire. How do you go around preparing? Although you have said that you sight read, but maybe you have great sight reading advice as well.
I think it's like you just sight read so much there. The turnover of repertoire is so fast that it actually improves it on the job. You just get used to, farming fields of notes that just are coming at you all the time. So just the experience. But again, mental practice would be key. The fact that you get the music days before, you just read it and start picturing the fingering patterns and stuff like that.
Especially with some pieces in the BBC. Especially with some pieces in the BBC with the contemporary and the funny tempos and the weird time signatures. I mean, if you don't look, you can be doomed. I don't know how you survived actually. But.
No, it's good for you because I suppose the BBC's remit is to put out the full realm of music, irrespective of whether it's good or not, and then it's for the public to decide whether they like it, and that's their role, because it's not their role to put out 1,000 performances of Chime 5 or the Sibelius violin concerto. So it's quite nice having the spread of repertoire.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what actually, I mean, you were in BBC for quite a long time. What keeps you motivated in the job musically after a certain amount of years? I mean, do you feel it becomes kind of harder to stay in the music, or what do you do to keep motivated in that situation?
Yeah, I suppose you need to keep a pride in what you do and saying my attitude, and if you like, almost my maturity evolved over the years, and I began to appreciate the privilege of being in an orchestra like that, and the challenges. And so I suppose I always tried to do better and better. I did struggle in some respects. I mean, without going too deeply, I would say I've got a short concentration span. And it's difficult when you're in a rehearsal, but what the conductor might say to the cellos might only be 1% of a rehearsal. So you're waiting while they address concerns around the rest of the orchestra, so you do need a patience and good concentration span. Mm-hmm. I did my best, but there are stories out there which we won't recount.
We'll ask.
We'll ask.
Well, that's probably about time for the closing questions now.
Okay.
We've asked everyone these. What's the best piece of advice that you've received during your career?
Well, one piece of advice which I like recycling is always play chamber music with people better than you. And I know mathematically that's not possible, but on occasions when you can play close up with people who are beyond you, I think it's a really powerful way of learning. So I'd still stand by that one. And even in an orchestra, when you have a soloist, that can inspire you and lift your level of playing. But ideally chamber music, when you're up close like we are, and you're sitting next to a superstar, and it does affect your playing positively. You think, blimey, I'm playing better than I'm used to.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I think that's why side-by-side projects are really good.
Yeah.
Because you just, with the confidence of them, and you just look and you're thinking, oh, that's how I should play this bit.
Yeah.
And then suddenly the elevation of the music is there.
Yeah. It's hard to put it into words. I mean, I don't know the science behind this, but it just works. Yeah.
So, next one. What do you think has changed about the industry, and how can young musicians adapt to it?
Yeah. The industry is definitely changing, and I suppose it's partly driven by the lack of funding, because culture and the arts sadly aren't as highly valued as other things in life, the sciences or whatever. So looking around at the orchestras, you can see the number of contract players is probably smaller than it was. But also there are good things, like it's responding to the fact that the classical musician has been steeped in tradition for so long, and thankfully it's becoming increasingly rare where performers will come on the stage, say nothing, not smile, play, sulk and walk off again. These days you're conscious of the fact that someone's paid 25 quid for a ticket, and they at least want a performer to say hello and tell them a bit about themselves, a bit about the music. And people are trying new things, whether it's with lighting or the choice of venue, or they have a narrator or a dancer, or just, I don't know, something to pep it up. But set against that, and arguing against that, I think sometimes we just need to keep that art where a group comes on, plays a quartet, just really good, honest playing, and that's the show. So we just still don't forget the art of sitting still and listening. You don't have to have a fireworks show or a laser show or
Instagram reels,
set it on an ice rink or something.
Just try that. I'll buy a stent off for that one there. So, do you want to do the last one?
Sure. Yeah. So we are creating a long Spotify playlist of your personal favourite performance or recording of a piece that you'd like students to listen to.
Bizarrely, it wouldn't be a cello piece. I really would always come back to Strauss' Four Last Songs. When I was a student, I was listening to it on an LP. I think it was Elizabeth Schwarzkopf singing it. But yeah, just there's something about Strauss that really touches me, so I'll probably do that. And again, I think we can learn a lot from singers. You're probably expecting me to say the Elgar Cello Concerto, played by Jacqueline Dupre, which is a landmark thing, and she influenced me a lot. But
were you at the recent BBC Four Strauss Four Last Songs concert?
Did I go there? No, I wasn't there. No.
Yeah, it was fun.
Sure,
It's a good piece.
Amazing piece. Yeah.
Well, I think this has brought us to a close of the interview. That is the end of our season finale of Conservatoire Conversations. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Chris.
Oh, he's the main guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
See you. Bye.
Bye.